Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. We're coming to you this Thursday on the 6th day of November, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. At least 80 have died and over 70 are missing as Typhoon Tino leaves a devastating trail of destruction across the Visayas. Representative Terry Ridon of Bicol Sara Party List wants the Independent Commission for Infrastructure to inspect flood control projects in Cebu. He is hoping the ICI gives it the same level of dedication it gave to the Bulacan inspections. And former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldy Co's lawyer Rui Rundain spoke to the media for the first time, admitting he only speaks to his client by phone and does not know his location. Rundain also insisted that Co is not in hiding but is afraid to come home due to death threats. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, more lives are lost as Typhoon Tino leaves a devastating trail of destruction across the Visayas, destroying homes and leaving dozens missing. Here's a report.
At least 80 people have died following the onslaught of Typhoon Tino, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Cebu recorded the highest number of fatalities. Other provinces including Bohol, Capiz, Leyte, and the Negros Island region also reported casualties. The primary causes of death in these areas are fallen debris and trees, landslides, and flooding. In addition, 81 people were injured, at least 70 individuals remain missing. The NDRRMC noted that there could be more casualties as rescue and recovery operations continue. At the evacuation center in Barangay Bakayan, Cebu City, News 5 spoke with Jimmy Abatayo. He could not hold back his tears as he recounted the tragedy his family endured. 10 of his relatives died, including his children, grandchildren, and wife, while 3 remain missing.
Sakit, sir. Sakit yun. But nagmahigay ko, sir. Sakit. Daghan. Ako yung nagpalaki sa kanila. Sakit. Kasi ako, nag-isa na lang. Wala na ako. Hindi ko ka but puso ko hindi na tanggap.
Meanwhile, in Palawan, Typhoon Tino brought strong winds and heavy rains when it made landfall on Wednesday morning. Nearly 38,000 residents were affected with no reported casualties. In Negros Oriental, a woman was killed when a boulder struck her home in Vallehermoso. Large boulders also damaged riverside houses in Davao City, leaving at least 12 dead and several others missing.
Typhoon Tino is now outside the Philippine area of responsibility. It was last spotted 265 kilometers northwest of Pag-asa Island in Kalayaan, Palawan. Meanwhile, Fung Wong outside Par has intensified into a tropical storm. It is expected to enter the Philippine area of responsibility tomorrow late evening or Saturday early morning. Once inside the country, it will be given the domestic name Uwan. Pag-asa said there is an increasing chance of landfall on Monday over northern or central Luzon as a super typhoon. For now, Tino and its trough is still bringing rains over Palawan, Zamboanga, Aurora, Quezon, Basilan, and Tawi-Tawi. The rest of the country may also expect rains due to the Amihan shear line and localized thunderstorms. Meanwhile, Cebu is still reeling from the massive floods that left dozens dead and thousands displaced. But according to a leading urban designer, the disaster didn't come out of nowhere. It was years in the making. Here's a report.
Landscape architect and urban designer Paulo Alcazaren has expressed frustration over the extent of damage caused by the recent flooding in Metro Cebu, calling it a disaster waiting to happen.
Of course, I'm Cebuano, so thoughts and prayers to everyone there. But yes, it's a bit of a shock to see all of the people who were affected and died because of all of this. I mean, the problems had been building up over the years, of course. And Metro Cebu has roughly the same problems as Metro Manila, so slightly smaller scale.
Alcazarin points to years of deforestation, rapid urbanization, and poorly maintained drainage systems as the main causes behind the massive flooding. He said many river systems in Metro Cebu have been lined with concrete revetments that, instead of preventing floods, have actually made things worse.
The lining of the river revetments with concrete actually do more harm than good, according to USEC CP David. And I've been traveling around Cebu this past 3 years, ever since COVID lifted.
He recommends using nature-based solutions, which he says are cheaper and more sustainable than concrete structures, but admits that these aren't always possible in highly urbanized areas.
NBS is often less expensive than concrete, of course, and nature-based solutions are the more sustainable solutions. But it's not always doable in some areas, especially with high urbanization. So
There
the
could be
buildings,
a hybrid.
it can be it has to be a hybrid, but it has to be done based on a master plan.
Alcazarin also called out the lack of coordination between government agencies and local governments. The landscape architect also criticized the development of Monterrazas de Cebu, a project linked to celebrity Slater Young, calling it problematic.
Yes,
Condominium
that used to be vegetated slope in the uplands of.
So that's
Cebu.
problematic.
That's problematic.
Because you need trees there.
If we don't address where the flood water or stormwater will be channeled.
As Metro Cebu struggles to recover from the disaster, Alcazarin urges policymakers to rebuild with science, planning, and coordination at the forefront.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure, together with the Department of Public Works and Highways, inspected several flood control projects in Davao City. ICI Special Advisor and former PNP Chief Rodolfo Azurin Jr. led the inspection, joined by Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, his predecessor at the commission. Magalong was there for the turnover of the projects he previously investigated. Their first stop was the road slope protection and rock netting project in Barangay Matina Crossing. Samples were taken from materials used in the structure following complaints of mismatched specifications and substandard materials.
Tingnan natin kung ano yung cost ng pagkasira. It has something to do with the materials na ginamit or hindi tama yung mga timpla ng semento. So makikita lahat yan sa test na ikakandak ng DPWH. Para na sa ganon, ma-determine ng quality control kung yung mga ginamit na materials ay pasok sa specifications.
The ICI also inspected another project in Matina Crossing, which has already shown damage just 2 years after its completion in 2023. Out of more than 400 complaints received nationwide on failed flood control projects, 51 came from Davao City. That's according to the ICI.
Ini-inspect natin isa-isa yung mga projects na to para na sa ganon. Magkaroon tayo ng parang conclusion and then we determine ano ba appropriate na gagawin aside sa filing ng mga charges sa mga implementers as well as din sa mga nag-inspect at nagbayad ng mga projects na to.
When we return, let's discuss Cebu flood control projects with Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon, who is urging the ICI to launch an investigation. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon is asking the Independent Commission for Infrastructure to inspect flood control projects in Cebu. Ridon urged the ICI to immediately visit Cebu and other affected areas to determine whether flood control projects there were effective. Ridon expressed hope that the ICI would show the same level of dedication in Cebu as it did during inspections in Bulacan. Now, this comes following the widespread flooding caused by Typhoon Tino. And joining us today to tell us all about that and more, we have Representative Terry Ridon of the Bicol Saro Party List and Chairperson of the House Committee on Public Accounts. Magandang umaga sa iyo.
Magandang umaga. Maraming salamat, Gretchen, for inviting me.
Okay, you called for an investigation on Cebu flood control projects. Where do you think we should begin on this? And meron na bang reports na dumating sa iyong opisina?
Well, I think we have to go into the most critical areas where you had the most damage. No? So, Talisay City is one of the areas that had been identified as having severe damage as a result of the typhoon. So, I think the ICI can start there. And very important that the ICI would go to Cebu and adjacent areas affected by the typhoon in the soonest time, particularly because I think they are being heavily criticized by certain camps that they had focused on other areas instead of going to Cebu, no? So, and other affected areas of the typhoon. So, I think within the week, hopefully, or within the next week, the ICI should be there and inspect whether or not flood control projects in Cebu and adjacent areas had in fact been effective, or if they were not effective, were responsible for these flood control projects. And I think most particularly, UM Builders, one of the top 15 contractors mentioned by the President, considers Cebu as their headquarters. No? So very important to look at the level and the number of their projects in the province.
Kahapon lang, we had our reporter there, Dale Israel, at sabi nga niya, no, meron daw deluge of flood control projects na nilagay sa lugar na hindi naman siya kailangan. Imbis na dun sa binabaha. And we do know that Cebu is the second province that received the most budget for flood control. It does feel like we're storm chasing though in a way, no? Kung saan binabaha, parang doon na pupunta yung investigasyon. Is there no chance for the Infracom to open this probe again? I mean, because the Blue Ribbon Committee is continuing its end of the investigations. Sa House naman, wala bang tsansa na magbukas ulit ito?
Well, I think for projects that are not within DPWH solely, so like farm to market roads, super health centers, and LGU projects in which you have contractors that are also participating in these projects, I think Congress can basically open new proceedings relating to this. No? But I think for DPWH flood control, for as long as ICI subsists, we will refer all of it to them. No, kasi nga, again, we will go back to the reason why we recused is because of the view that Congress cannot investigate fully and most credibly legislators who are also involved in flood control controversies.
And yet, your committee, House Public Accounts, is set to conduct a hearing beginning November 17 on the status of the Manila Bay Dolomite Beach project. Why focus on this project? Isn't it a little bit off-tune given recent disasters? And of course, the criticism, and I do see your post online, no, that this is a political assailing of some sorts.
I don't think so. I think to be very clear, this resolution has been filed way before the flood control investigations. Actually, tinabilang ho natin ito pong pagsisiyasat po na ito to give way for the flood control hearings. And since tapos na ho yung House, no, doon po sa amin pong Infracom hearings at ubaya na po namin sa ICI, I think there was every reason to basically proceed with the Manila Bay Dolomite project hearing already. No? And to be very clear, irrespective of whoever president it is, no, whether it's President Duterte, President Marcos, President Aquino, for as long I think these are the terms and the concept and scope of the Dolomite Beach project, I think objections will still be made on the project. So I don't think it is political. It is really just a question on whether or not it was actually a project that required funding of the scale of 389 million by the national government.
But why zone in on this? There are so many things to be investigated on. You did mention farm to market roads and other infrastructure. Yun nga, no? I mean, it's a very specific project. What do you find questionable?
Well, una sa lahat, malaki yung proyekto ito, no? Kumbaga, 389 million for a beautification project that could have been used for, a better rehabilitation. Kasi po, what they're actually trying to explain to us is that, we have to do this because you have a Supreme Court continuing mandamus for the rehabilitation of Manila Bay. But if you look at the case itself, the requirement there is basically to improve the water quality of Manila Bay. And which is why, in the first hearing, the first question would be, is yung overlay po ba ng mga buhangin over Manila Bay actually going to improve the water quality of Manila Bay? And I'm quite certain the answer to that is no. Di ba? So, I think these are questions that the DNR leadership today will have to answer on whether or not they actually back the previous DNR leadership's decision to actually greenlight this project despite not actually complying with the Supreme Court mandamus. And secondly, proceeding with a project that was not in the Manila Bay Sustainable Development Master Plan in the first place. Di ba yung pinag-usapan natin sa flood control? Yung flood control projects that are not in the master plan, and worse, there is actually no master plan in these particular areas. So, kumbaga, the similar methodology that we had seen in the flood control hearings, we will apply in the Dolomite hearing po when we get to that.
Well, Congressman, don't get me wrong, no? Back in 2021, we also questioned this project, kung ano yung necessity niya. But then the others were quick to answer. Napakahalaga ito na, syempre, unang-una, pasyalan dun sa mga residente doon dahil saan pa ba sila pupunta. And ano bang gusto nyo makita? Gusto nyo makita basura? Dati, yun nga yung images, no? It was lined with a sea of trash. Now, we have a beautiful beach with tourists and taking a look at all the other things that they were hoping to achieve with this. According to the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, it will also protect coastal properties from erosion and storm surges. Yan yung sabi nila. At meron din nakapagsabi na the beach now hosts environmental tours, coastal cleanups, research activities, transforming it into a platform for public engagement. I'm not defending it. I'm just quoting what has been said about the Dolomite Beach on the other side of the debate.
Yeah, but the core of it is basically a beautification project. No? So, are we to tell the nation that we are supposed to undertake a beautification project at the level of 389 million? Di ba? So, ibig sabihin, wala tayong debate na kailangan may pasyalan po yung mga kababayan natin. So, pag-usapan din natin sa pagdinig na yon. Ano po ba yung alternatives? Dito pa sinasabing pwedeng maging pasyalan ng atin pong mga kababayan within that entire same area. Kinailangan ba talaga natin maglatag ng buhangin? Kasi, basically, yung pong basura naman sa Manila Bay, whether you have it today, and in the past, even without the Dolomite Beach Project, pagka naman talaga bumagyo at malakas yung ulan, nagkakaroon naman talaga ng basura. Di ba? Pagka you have calm waters there, whether you have the Dolomite Beach, wala naman basura. So it's not just a question of having the beach. It's also a question of, adequate solid waste management by, not just by the city of Manila, but the cities around the area. Di ba? So, kumbaga, let us not conflate the solutions and let us also not conflate the problems solely to the Dolomite Beach project itself.
I do remember you bringing this up before the flood control investigation. Has your office received scientific data on the impacts? Meron na bang nakapagbigay sa inyo? At pangalawa, have you been there yourself? Have you inspected the area?
Yeah, I've seen it. Siyempre, alam po ninyo, talaga naman kailangan mo yung makita. Kumbaga, wala tayong debate na maganda ho yung lugar. In fact, wala din ho tayo sinasabi na tatanggalin at papalitan ho natin yung muli. No? Kumbaga, nandyan na yan. Pero we have to be able to learn lessons on how to proceed with, beautification projects and conflating it with as an environmental solution. Di ba? kailangan natin mamili kung ano ho ito. Is it a solely a beautification project? Or is it actually an environmental solution which is consistent with the requirements of the continuing mandamus by the Supreme Court and by the Manila Bay Rehabilitation Master Plan. No? So, kumbaga, maging honest lang ho tayo kung ano ba yung gusto talaga natin mangyari dito.
And this was actually a project under the DENR, under Secretary Roy Simatu for the Manila Bay Rehabilitation. At nabanggit mo nga, yung Supreme Court continuing mandamus for the rehabilitation of the Manila Bay. Ano ang nakikita mo ditong possible violations on that ruling?
Well, una sa lahat, that the project itself doesn't actually conform to the ruling. Kasi nga, if you look at the text of the continuing mandamus, ang pinag-usapan ho doon, conserve and preserve Manila Bay. And thirdly, and most importantly, improve the water quality. So basically, these are the tests on whether or not this particular project is actually consistent to it. Hindi ba? So, yun ang basic. Kasi for example, if we talk about sewage treatment plants, di ba? If we talk about, for example, planting mangroves, I think check agad ho yun Doon po sa conserving, preserving, and improving the water quality. Kaya nga ang question, yung paglalatag ba ng buhangin will actually improve the water quality of Manila Bay. Kasi kung ang sagot po doon, hindi, wala tayong pinag-uusapan na conformity to the Supreme Court continuing mandamus.
It is actually a very, very distinct direction for that rehabilitation na babanggitin ko lang, no? This mandamus order directed 13 government agencies to clean up and rehabilitate the bay to make it safe enough for recreational use such as swimming and skin diving. So, tama po kayo doon na napakalinaw po ng direksyon na dapat tahakin nitong Manila Bay Rehabilitation. And moving on to other matters, no, specifically on Congressman or former Congressman Zaldy Co. Attorney Rui Rondayan, his representative, came out yesterday saying that Zaldy Co will only return once he feels that the threat on his life has abated. Your thoughts on that? Pwede ba yun? Hindi ba parang pwedeng maging indefinite din na sabihin mo na may banta sa buhay mo to stay away from accountability?
Well, most certainly that will be their defense. But again, we've heard the Ombudsman already speak about proceeding with the charges, not just on Congressman Zaldy Co, but on everyone else, no, that are involved in Bulacan, Mindoro, and Davao. So as soon as these charges are filed at the level of the Sandigan Bayan and the arrest warrants are issued, yung pong pagkakaroon na ng cancellation ng passport, pwede na mag-proceed yun. So ibig sabihin, it's not as easy to say that he will just wait it out. No? Kasi at the level of government, yung cancellation of passport and yung Interpol coordination for the arrest, even if he's not in the Philippines, can in fact be implemented by government. So, I think sila ho yung mapagpasya. Siyempre, kliyente ho niya yun. Pero I think yung gobyerno po will do what it needs to do to proceed with the case.
But are you happy with the speed of the investigation? No case has been filed against Zaldy Co until now. Is there any way that we can make him answer for the charges or for what's been said over at the hearings or forcing him back into the country?
Well, I think yung second referral of the ICI to the Ombudsman po, I think it is sufficient enough kasi it is the result of all the proceedings, no, of the House, of the Senate, and the ICI. And nabanggit po siya Congressman Zaldy Co and also in the first referral relating to Mindoro. So I think the ball is in the court of the Ombudsman, and they had made a commitment to basically file the charges within the month of November, administrative and criminal charges at the level of the Sandigan Bayan. So we will hold them to that commitment.
Kasi nakikita ng mga tao ngayon, I mean, he's been going around, may mga random pictures na lumalabas. At syempre, ang tanong ng taong bayan, bakit wala pang nakukulong? Ilang buwan na itong mga investigasyon na ito. What do you think? I mean, what do you think about the whole process? Do you think it could be a little bit more, I guess, expeditious?
Well, again, like what we had stated and like what the President stated, I think everyone wants it to be fast, no? But we also don't want the proceedings to fail. So, kumbaga, I think the most important question is whether or not the prosecution will be able to actually do it right and file the proper cases, which will lead to convictions and dismissals. No? So, I think that is the most important test. No? So, tingin ko nun, they're not taking their sweet time. And again, the standard, for example, in the PDAF case, the last time in 2013, yung po I think it had taken them around 11 months no, for the first charges to be filed at the level of the Sandigan Bayan. Wala pa naman ho tayo sa 11th month. We're just like 100 days from the announcement of the president. So I think we are still within target to actually file it in the soonest possible time.
Sabi rin po ni Attorney Rondain that Zaldy Co does not own any air assets and that the assets in question actually belong to Misibis Aviation. Help us understand this. Pwede ba yun na kahit major stockholder si Congressman Co, pwede niya sabihin na hindi naman akin yan, sa kumpanya yan?
Well, syempre, depensa na po yan ng mga abogado no? Ni
okay.
Congressman Co. No? So, syempre, you have to look at the corporation of Misibis itself. Sino ho ba yung mga stockholders dyan? Sino ba yung mga beneficial owners? No? So, basically, kung it is still related to the cause. No? So, hindi rin po ganun kadali na sasabihin po natin na hindi talaga siya nagmamayari. Kumbaga, it's a legal defense, but I don't think the public will actually accept that explanation. Kung talaga nga akong bahagi pa rin si former Congressman Co nung po nga binabanggit pong kumpanya ni Attorney Rondain.
And speaking of accountability, how far and deep do you think that should go? I mean, ito, meron ngang ibang mga kasama sa kumpanya, and also I was taking a look at the freezing of assets. Meron dun nakalagay na insurance policies na freeze, you know. Those who have accepted these payments to them, for example, sa usaping insurance lamang, yung mga ahente down the line, I mean, doing their due diligence, also officials in the land bank, what is their level of complicity here? And how do you hold everybody accountable down the line? And paano kaya? I mean, it's so wide and so deep that I can't begin to grasp the amount of work that it will take to actually hold everybody accountable.
Well, first of all, syempre, lahat ng mga sangkot dapat managot. No? I think that's a first principle that needs to be stated. But second of all, I think yung most important personalities should be charged first. No? Para syempre it serves as warning and the lesson to everyone na mataas ka man o mababa ka, kung talagang masasangkot ka sa ganitong mga aktibidad, meron hong kailangan pagbayaran. So, hopefully, kung talaga hong complicit, like what you had stated, yung pong maliliit na mga tauhan ng iba't ibang mga opisina, di dapat meron din pong kaso. Pero, but more importantly, syempre, we will have to talk about, empowering the ICI as well. No? And, kasi yan naman ho yung basic weakness niya at this point na diba, very small office for entire deluge of cases, not just in Bulacan, not just in Davao, not just in whichever place, no, but around the country, and for flood control lang po ito. No, we are talking about so many other infrastructure problems that we are facing, like what we had previously stated on the superhead centers, farm to market roads, and local government projects. No? So, yung pong empowerment of the ICI is something that the Senate and Congress should be able to expedite as soon as we return next week.
And anong powers ang tingin nyo dapat mabigyan itong ICI? Kasi meron pong bill wanting to give it power to subpoena and to cite in contempt witnesses, at pangalawa, to seize assets, freeze assets. Ano po sa tingin nyo yung extent ng powers na dapat meron itong ICI? Senator Ridon said that there are questions on the constitutionality of the ICI because meron namang Office of the Ombudsman, meron namang DOJ. Well, for one, the Office of the Ombudsman is constitutional already. Kumbaga, parang meron namang work around within the agency itself. So, hanggang saan kaya ang dapat maging powers itong ICI, knowing that it is also a presidentially formed body?
Well, I think as a first point, no, yung most important powers would be the powers that would survive constitutional scrutiny, which is what former Senate President Ridon is mentioning. And tingin ko naman, if we just grant yung pong the same powers that are granted to Congress and the Senate, which is basically subpoena and contempt powers, at tingin ko, ano na ho yun, malaking kapangyarihan na po yung pong pwedeng igawad sa ICI. Yung pong ibang mapinabanggit, yung like power of seizure, whole departure, meron po kasing mga ibang opisina na meron po yung kapangyarihan na yan. So, yan po kasi yung baka mag-subject sa to a future empowered ICI to a constitutional scrutiny. So, I don't want to get into that, no? So, ako, basta meron po silang subpoena and meron po silang contempt powers, katulad na meron po yung Kongreso at Senado. Anyway, it's a fact-finding and investigative body din naman po. Okay na yun.
And moving forward, para po maimbestigahan po lahat ng flood control projects at pati everybody who has been complicit to this, kayo po ba ay pabor sa Independent People's Commission? Iba naman itong IPC. Ito yung nasa Senate bill, I believe, no? A body that's not presidentially appointed but iba yung kanyang composition. Pabor po ba kayo doon? At tingin nyo po ba realistically, sino-sino lamang yung makakahabol dito sa mga investigasyon?
No, as far as I'm concerned, pare-pareho lang pong mga proposals po yan. It's an independent commission similar to, actually, ngayon nga, dati meron po yung tinatawag na Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission, which is almost the same animal as what we have today. No? Mas very certain lang po yung terms of the ICI at the moment. Pero yun nga, whether it's an Independent People's Commission that will look not just into flood control infrastructure, wala ko tayong problema doon. But
Pero
again,
yung IPC, hindi ba ano yun? It could outlast, if it's legislated, it could outlast the current administration?
No, yes, that's correct. But I mean, the legislation that are being proposed in Congress and the Senate today is similar to that. Yung pinag-usapan lang, yung meron siyang sunset. Di ba, kung it's a 2-year term or like yung tuloy-tuloy po itong commission po na ito. So, ang totoo, wala tayong debate kung ano man huyang commission po na yan in the future. Kasi ang debate lang naman ho dyan, what is the scope of that commission? And secondly, what are the powers of that commission? So, yung powers of the commission, again, whatever type of commission it is, kasi if you go beyond to yung contempt and subpoena, I'm quite certain it will be subjected to constitutional scrutiny when, you know, yung pinaka-importante lang naman ho talaga dito ay yung po actual investigative work, you know, na ginagawa po ng isang independent opisina, independent of the President, independent of Congress and the Senate.
Pero agree po kayo na magkaroon ng sunset date itong commission na ito? Agree kayo sa sunset date na yon?
Mahirap din na maglagay kasi ng sunset, lalo tigit, for example, hindi rin natin alam kung gaano kabilis yung pong pagsisiyasat po ng napakaraming mga proyekto and most certainly, ayaw naman natin mangyari na halimbawa, pumagal lang yung pagsisiyasat tapos dumating po yung sunset date, hindi na ho natin maimbestigahan yung iba pa. So, tingin ko mas mahalaga sa atin yung meron tuloy-tuloy pong kapangyarihan. Tapos yung Kongreso at Senado na lang yung magpasya kung kailan ho niya i-abolish yung pong future na isang independent commission again on infrastructure.
Oo, kasi yun nga, no, kung hindi itong independent body, sino dapat? Dapat ba Office of the Ombudsman yan? Dapat ba dagdagan pa ng resources ang kanilang opisina? Ano ang inyong palagay?
But, again, syempre, it's a question that has been raised previously also in the creation of the ICI. No? But I think it is the wisdom of the President, which the Congress and the Senate support, na there is a particular focus. There needs to be a particular focus on infrastructure and flood control corruption. Kasi pagka ombudsman lang yan, you have an entire buffet of matters na pwede hong focusan po ng ombudsman, no? Baka ho mamiss ho ng gobyerno at ng publiko ho yung overarching importance ng pagpapanagot sa flood control and infrastructure corruption. So, kumbaga, ginagalang natin yun. And hopefully, pagka you have legislation, hindi ho magbabangga yung po trabaho ng ombudsman at trabaho po ng isang empowered na ICI.
going back to Attorney Rondae, no, sabi niya, no, so far the accusations against his client are so far he said, she said. Just how powerful do you think were the testimonies at the Senate hearing? Could those already hold in court? I mean, sabi kasi na, kausap namin kahapon si DOJ spokesperson Polo Martinez at sabi niya no, na yung sinabi daw sa mga hearing na ito ay pwedeng baguhin ng mismong mga witnesses doon sa kanilang official affidavit to answer the charges over at the DOJ at pag sinampa na to sa korte. So how, I mean, what do you think about that? The weight and the gravity of what's been said over at the congressional hearings?
Well, syempre, ultimately, the lawyer is basically prosecuting his client's case before the public. No? So, talagang he will say na it's based on hearsay evidence. But again, we have to talk about, yung credibility of all the witnesses that had been presented and had been interviewed at all levels, no? At the Congress, Senate, and the ICI. No? So, yun ho talaga yung mga magbabanggaan ng mga affidavits and testimonies. No? So, magpapasya ho yung Sandigan Bayan, magpapasya po yung Ombudsman, kung sino ho doon yung kakatigan po nila. But, again, yung i-waive, kasi binanggit din ho ni Attorney Rondae that they will not be submitting counter affidavits, like what the Ombudsman had stated. It's a bit unfortunate kasi, syempre, they will waive their right to basically provide counter evidence.
Pero paano kung let's say yung mga diskaya, no? What if they retract all of their statements from the congressional hearings and baguhin nila dun sa official counter affidavit nila?
Touch move na sila eh. I mean, everything that had been made as an admission against interest. Ibig sabihin, meron kang sinabi na talagang damaging to you, damaging to your rights, no? Kahit baguhin mo pa yun, touch move na yun.
So, pwedeng banggain yung yung sinabi nila sa congressional hearings at saka yung official na sinabit nila as counter affidavit to the Office of the Ombudsman. Pwede ba yun?
Siyempre, as far as the Ombudsman and Sandigan Bayan will be concerned, no? Siyempre, una, it will impinge on their credibility. And secondly, it will be these bodies, Sandigan Bayan and Ombudsman for the administrative cases, which will determine kung alin dun sa mga binanggit nila yung dapat bigyan ng bigat. So, kumbaga, hindi yung ganun kadali sa totoo lang na magsabi ka ng isang bagay on a particular fact, tapos bigla ka magbabago at a future time. So, kumbaga, wag nilang subukan dahil I think it will basically weaken their position as well.
And moving forward, no, how do we achieve more transparency over the budgeting process and also in our infrastructure works? Marami pong mga proposal, no? Meron po yung blockchain proposal, kaakibat ng budget, merong proposal to have open access to all the data from sa start ng NEP, papunta sa House, papunta sa Senado. Ano ang tingin niyo? I mean, your take on all of these proposals?
Well, again, first of all, pinakamahalaga pa rin ho itong ginagawa ho natin na truth-telling, truth-seeking dun sa pagpapanagot po ng lahat ng sangkot. Dito po sa flood control corruption, yan yung una. Pero pangalawa, yung binabanggit ho natin previously pa, na dapat ho identified and name po talaga yung proponents ng lahat po ng mga line items. At whichever level it is, at the NEP, at the HCAB, at the BICAM, at the Senate version, dapat, it is one of the proposals of Senator Ping Lacson din. Ibig sabihin, kung talaga nga pinaninindigan po natin yung pong ating mga insertions, ang ating amendments, ang ating pong initiatives, dapat di ho tayo matakot. Kasi kung talagang mahalaga sa atin, mahalaga sa mga constituencies ho natin, yung pong dagdag na gusali, dagdag pong flood control, dagdag pong mga kalsada, dapat hindi ho tayo nahihiya. Kasi kailangan ho ng mga kababayan ho natin sa mga nasasakupan po nating mga lugar, sa mga tinutulungan po nating komunidad. So dapat hindi ho tayo matakot na ilagay ho yung pangalan. Kasi anyway, marami naman ho mga politiko, linalagay ho nila yung mga pangalan nila doon sa mga proyekto. Ano ho yung pinsala na ilalagay ho natin yung mga pangalan natin doon sa mga pinopropose po natin ng mga proyekto sa level po ng line item ng ating pong budget.
Well, speaking of transparency, some members of the House have already released their SALNs, that's including the Speaker. Are you planning to release yours? And then, are we still awaiting a policy decision on this from the House?
No, I think as soon as the House policy is finished, no, House members, including myself, will release their SALNs. Kasi yan po yung inaantay ho talaga natin na magkaroon talaga ng actual policy that will basically determine kung how we will go about it. Kasi mahirap kasi yung halimbawa, naglalabas lang ng SALN, it might be an excuse eh. Kung naglabas na pala kayo, wag na tayo magkaroon ng House policy. But we want to be able to show the nation is that talagang wala akong tinatago dapat yung pong mga kongresista. At ito po yung magiging patakaran natin as an institution moving forward. So, as soon as the policy committee convenes and approves the new silent policy, I think House members will be obliged to release their silence.
Is that on the table? I mean, pag-resume ng session?
I think as soon as we return next week, magkakaroon na po ng pagpupulo. Kasi the speaker himself actually convened it. So may mga pangalan yung pong committee na yan. So I think they will convene in the soonest time.
Sabi kasi ng ibang tao, no, bakit kailangan pa mag-antay ng polisiya? Pwede namang unahan kung talagang walang tinatago. Anong masasabi niyo dun?
Tama yun, wala tayong problema doon. Pero we don't want it to be merely performative.
Okay.
Diba? Kasi nga, naglabas, for example, you have particular congressmen that released their SALNs, di ba? And sasabihin ng ibang mga kongresista, nag-release na pala kayo eh. Huwag na kami, hindi na kami kasali dyan, kaya nyo na yan, di ba? I don't think that's the end that we want to see. The end that we want to see, because you have a House policy, is that more than 300 members of the House will be compelled to release their SALNs. No? Siyempre, respecting data privacy rights. But hindi po pwede yung parang pa-isa-isa, pa-ilan-ilan lang po na disclosures po ng ating pong SALNs.
Sa bagay, ibang dynamic dito sa House, given that you have more than 200 members, compared to the Senate na ang bilis ipinpoint kung sino yung hindi nag-release ng SALN. So we do hope to see all of that, no? To be able to restore public trust in the House of Representatives. In the meantime, maraming salamat for answering our questions today, and good luck with this new probe on the Manila Bay Dolomite Beach. We have Representative Terry Ridon of Bicol South Party List and Chairperson of the House Committee on Public Accounts. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. Ganda umaga.
Just in, as of 7 a.m. today, the Office of Civil Defense confirmed that the number of casualties from the onslaught of Typhoon Tino has climbed to 114. The number of missing individuals is now at 127, while 82 were reported injured. Most deaths were from Cebu, followed by Negros Occidental and Oriental. Overall, almost 2 million Filipinos from 8 regions were affected by the typhoon. And coming right up, Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte denied that there are ghost flood control projects in his district. All that and more when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. The lawyer, former Ako Bicol Representative Zaldy Co, faced the media for the first time. Attorney Rui Rondain admitted he doesn't know where Co is, saying they only communicate by phone. But he insisted his client is not hiding, but is afraid to return home because of threats to his life. Rondain denied claims.
Huwag naman chismis because hindi tatayo in a court of law. Who's saying na mayroon deliveries? Did they see my client receive the delivery of money?
Rondain denied claims that Co received cash deliveries from a certain Orly Guteza or that he made insertions to the budget. He also clarified that Co owns no helicopters or planes, saying any aircraft linked to him belongs to Misibis Aviation.
I understand that any aircraft related to him is owned by Misibis Aviation. Now separate si Mr. Co sa Misibis. You should ask the lawyer of Misibis. I'm not the lawyer. But see, Yan na yung ano yan na yung isang misinformation na malaki. That's the reason we're here. Because Secretary Dizon keeps saying na i-freeze lahat yan, i-confiscate yan. If you look at his SALN, Miss Aviation was incorporated in 2004, 2008. Now, Zaldy Co became a congressman in 2019.
Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte denied that there are non-existent or so-called ghost flood control projects in his district. He issued a statement after ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino raised claims of irregularities. Duterte stated that all flood control structures along the Davao and Matina rivers had been properly implemented, inspected, and validated by the Department of Public Works and Highways, as well as the Commission on Audit. He maintained that the projects are visible, functional, and continue to serve residents by preventing flooding in communities. The lawmaker also urged critics to verify their claims through official channels instead of using Davao City for political attacks. Former Philippine National Police Chief Police General Nicolas Torre III denied allegations that he is harboring or liguteza. On the big story, Torre said he has not been approached regarding the issue and has no involvement in the matter.
Saan naman galing yan at you're giving me too much credit. I may help pag hiningian ako ng tulong, pero sa ngayon, I just don't see myself in there. I don't think that I have any business in that.
Torre also dismissed speculation about him entering politics, saying he lacks the financial resources to run for public office. When asked he would consider a 2028 election bid should a group offer to fund his campaign, Torre said he would wait and see.
Una, wala akong pera. Okay? I just don't have the resources for it. I have already promised to my children na makabawi man lang sa kanila. Tingnan natin kung sino mag-offer.
And don't go away. We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. The Nagat Islands has been placed under a state of calamity following the widespread destruction brought by Typhoon Tino. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council recommended the declaration after initial assessments revealed extensive damage across the province. Several homes were destroyed, trees were uprooted, and key infrastructure sustained severe damage. The provincial government said it is now focusing on relief, recovery, and rehabilitation efforts in affected communities. In other news, PLDT and SMART have unveiled Smart Safe, a new cybersecurity program aimed at protecting users from online scams and fraud. The initiative introduces a key feature called Silent Access, which verifies online logins and transactions automatically, eliminating the need for one-time passwords. According to PLDT Enterprise First Vice President Nico Alcoseba, Silent Access works through end-to-end encryption built directly into participating banking and e-commerce applications. This means that when users log in or make transactions, verification happens securely within SMART's network, blocking hackers from intercepting sensitive data. The Department of Information and Communications Technology welcomed the development and said similar features could be adopted by other telcos and even government platforms.
It looks like it's a good product for our people, promoting digital security and protection. And the president wants to have a scam-free Christmas this year, no? So, good. I hope we can help in that direction.
Baka pwedeng department order to together with the NTC. Mas safe yung mga ganitong execution instead of OTP. And hindi lang naman si Smart ang pwede nito. Yung ibang telcos pwede rin.
Meanwhile, here are the latest stories in sports. The UP Fighting Maroons survived the UST Growling Tigers in the UAAP Season 88 men's basketball tournament. UP erased a 16-point deficit to clinch a third straight win and improve to a 7-3 record, while UST suffered another loss despite a strong outing from Collins Akkoe, who finished with 26 points and 16 rebounds. In the PBA Philippine Cup, Rain or Shine grabbed the solo lead after defeating Phoenix. Gian Mamuyak led with 22 points, while Anton Asisio added 20, helping the Elasto Painters improve to a 5-1 record. And Las Pilipinas girls bowed out of the AVC Under-16 Asian Championship after falling to Chinese Taipei. Team captain Saiz Reiko scored 12 points as Taipei advanced to the semifinals and secured a World Championship slot. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we have given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.